It's Rickie Collins' show, and this team can still win plenty of games.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer. Thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. We are always free and available wherever you get your podcasts, whether you're watching Locked On Syracuse right now on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite audio platform. On today's show, big picture takeaways following Syracuse's 34-21 beatdown versus the Clemson Tigers in Death Valley. What are the 2025 expectations for Syracuse? Now sitting at 3-1, 3 straight victories, and 1-0 in conference play, but their starting quarterback in Steve Angeli is out for the rest of the season. Should we raise the expectations, keep them the same, lower the expectations? We'll discuss more later on in the show. And hey, feel free right now to comment your thoughts in the comment section below, your expectations for Syracuse now in 2025. We'll also discuss the special teams improvement for Syracuse this season. And my goodness, it is a lot better through 4 games this year than it was all of last season. But first, this is now Rickie Collins' team, and it's his opportunity that he has been waiting for ever since he got to college, and why Syracuse can still win plenty of games with him in command. All that and more here on today's edition of Locked On Syracuse. And before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So unfortunately, we found out on Sunday afternoon from multiple reports out there, including ESPN's Pete Thamel, that starting quarterback for Syracuse football, Steve Angeli, suffered a torn left Achilles in the victory versus Clemson, meaning he will be out for the remainder of the season. And this stinks for all parties involved. It obviously stinks for Steve Angeli. It stinks for Syracuse football, even for Rickie Collins, who is now getting his opportunity. We've already talked about it. You never want to see a teammate go down, even if it is technically to your benefit when it comes to actually getting playing time. It stinks for everyone involved. And I think during the bye week, which Syracuse still has 2 more games before they get to the bye, we can go over the long-term ramifications of the Steve Angeli injury, because we still need to see what Rickie Collins does this coming week against Duke and following that at SMU. So we'll go over long-term ramifications during the bye week. But for the short term, Steve Angeli is out the season. And make no mistake, he will be very, very difficult to replace. He was on pace to have an all-ACC season in 2025. His numbers, 63% completion percentage, over 1,300 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and that's in 3 3/4 games, because he missed a full quarter plus in the win versus Clemson. That's when he suffered the injury. So what now for Syracuse? Well, it stinks. We've already gone over that. We have established that it's awful that Steve Angeli went down with a season-ending injury. But it's also football. And injuries happen, and the games are still going to happen. And look, the opponents on Syracuse's schedule, I'm sure they feel sorry for Steve Angeli. But you know what? They're still going to go out there and try to beat Syracuse football. And so if you're Syracuse football, you still got to go out there and do your best to win these games. And it's now Rickie Collins' chance to prove that he belongs, that he is a starting quarterback for a power conference team, that he has the ability to actually do it. Let's take a trip down memory lane with Rickie Collins, because I think the backstory with him is very, very important to the present. Remember December of 2024? Syracuse coming off a 10-win season, the first 10-win season since 2018. Well, Syracuse in the offseason was looking for a new starting quarterback, and we knew they were going to go in the transfer portal to find one. Kyle McCord, who had done an outstanding job, was out of college eligibility. So you needed to find a new quarterback. And Fran Brown found a former 4-star recruit out of LSU back in 2023, Rickie Collins. Rickie Collins arrives on campus. It is assumed that he is going to be the starting quarterback of Syracuse, but it is not guaranteed. Fran Brown does not guarantee anyone anything except an opportunity, but he's not going to sit there and say, hey, we're going to play you right away. No. You have to earn it on Fran Brown teams. That's one of the main things that I love about Syracuse's head coach, that he makes all of his players earn the job that they have. He holds everyone accountable. Rickie Collins, to his credit, he wins Syracuse's starting job in the spring. He beats out Michael Johnson Jr., who is now with Akron. He beats out Jakari Williams, a redshirt freshman, and he beats out a couple of true freshmen as well in Luke Carney and Rich Bellin. Now, we don't need to dive too much into what happened after that. Long story short, Steve Angeli transfers to Syracuse from Notre Dame, and in a very close fall camp battle, he beats out Rickie Collins, making Rickie Collins Syracuse's second-string quarterback in 2025. Let's go over why you should have some optimism with Rickie Collins. There are a few reasons for this. Number one, he's got some mobility, and we've actually already seen Rickie Collins' mobility a little bit so far this season. We saw in the Colgate game, they called a couple of design runs for him, and he ended up with 19 yards on 3 carries. And I do expect that offensive coordinator Jeff Nixon, who is a very good offensive coordinator, by the way, to slightly adjust the game plan to try to play to Rickie Collins' strengths. He is probably a better runner than Steve Angeli. And so with that being said, use Rickie Collins' mobility. The other thing about Rickie Collins that should give you some optimism, and it's not necessarily about Rickie Collins himself, although it's a little bit about him because he definitely has talent, former 4-star recruit, that should not be ignored. But think about what is around him. And we've kind of already gone over this. The support system at Syracuse now, it is set up for Rickie Collins to succeed. You have arguably the best offensive coordinator in the ACC, if not the entire country, calling plays for you in Jeff Nixon. That's a good start. You have an offensive line that seems to be getting better every single week. Probably just had their best performance of the season against Clemson. You have wide receivers galore across the board. They are essentially plug and play with Syracuse football. You have a great tight end now in Dan Villari, who has emerged as an all-conference player this season. You have a running back in Yassine Willis, who is definitely taking a nice step forward in his second season of collegiate football. The support system is there for Rickie Collins to succeed. He's got talent, and he's also got mobility. One reason for maybe a little bit of concern, I guess, and I'll admit, we don't have much tape on Rickie Collins, so it's hard to judge it, but I do wonder if the accuracy is there with Rickie Collins. We remember the Colgate game when he came in and he threw an awful interception where it was just a terribly overthrown pass. I mean, it was one of the more inaccurate footballs I have ever seen a quarterback throw. Now, was it nerves? The fact that he was coming in for the first time all season? Maybe. It could have been nerves. That's fine. Maybe it was nerves, right? There was also a play against Clemson that I want to point out as well. It was a 3rd and 6 in the fourth quarter. Now, To Syracuse's credit and to Rickie Collins' credit, they did convert this play in the fourth quarter. It was early in the final period. Rickie Collins on a 3rd and 6 drops back, and he hits Justice Ross Simmons on a shallow cross for a first down. But it was one of those passes where it was a little bit behind Justice Ross Simmons, so it was a tougher catch for him to make, but also a catch that you expect a Division I wide receiver to make, like Justice Ross Simmons. And hey, he made the catch. And I should also point out that the throw he made to Justice Ross Simmons, back shoulder in the end zone, I thought it was money. I know some of you may have seen that play differently than I did. I thought it was a money throw by Rickie Collins in a big spot. So what's the confidence level now with Rickie Collins? Feel free to comment your thoughts in the comments section below. But I am more confident than not that Rickie Collins is going to succeed with Syracuse football. I can't promise you that he is going to be Steve Angeli or Kyle McCord before him, that he's going to be on that level. But keep in mind, this was someone who was neck and neck, apparently, in fall camp, according to the coaches and the players involved. It was a very close race, and Steve Angeli won it in the end, but it was very close. And so is it really that much of a drop-off between Steve Angeli and Rickie Collins? That's the million-dollar question. That's the question that is going to be answered on Saturday against the Duke Blue Devils. But as of right now, I think of all the factors. The talent is there out of high school, 4-star recruit to LSU. The support system is there. The fact that he was so close to winning the starting job. The fact that he was originally the starting quarterback of Syracuse football gives me plenty of reason to believe that Rickie Collins is going to succeed with this opportunity. And hopefully he does, because we'll discuss later on in the show, if he can still succeed with, if he can succeed with Syracuse and play at a high level, this is definitely a team that can compete in the ACC. Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll get to it later on. What are your 2025 expectations now with Rickie Collins as the starting quarterback? But first, we're going to talk about the special teams because they deserve a lot of love. So stick with me here on Locked On Syracuse. When you think about 2024 to the first 4 games of 2025, what do you think is the biggest improvement of Syracuse football? Comment your thoughts right now in the comments section below. And I'm very curious if you agree with me or disagree with me on this take. Are you ready? The biggest improvement of Syracuse football in 2025 is their special teams. I know it's not flashy. It's not sexy. It's not going to grab the headlines. It's not some crazy hot take that I can post on YouTube or on any audio platform out there and generate a ton of clicks for you all. But that's the reality. The special teams have been significantly better through 4 games of 2025 than they were all of last season. A year ago, Syracuse had the worst special teams in the ACC, if not the entire country. Think about how many miscues there were last year, how many blocked punts there were. That UNLV game, Syracuse nearly lost that game because of special teams. Georgia Tech not recovering an onside kick when you're on defense nearly cost them that game. And there were plenty of other special teams miscues in 2024, but I don't have all day to recite the entire list. I guess you can go back to December of 2024 when Syracuse moved on from their special teams coordinator at the time, and we went over it. We went over the special teams and all the miscues they had that season. But it was not a good year for special teams. Out of all 3 of the units last year, offense, defense, and special teams was the worst unit in 2024. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's the best unit now of Syracuse in 2025, but it has been so much better. The number one reason it has been so much better is that Syracuse and Fran Brown hired a new special teams coordinator in Rickie Brumfield. And there was reason for optimism heading into the season with Rickie Brumfield. And it's because he has a prior track record at his other stops where he can improve a special teams year over year significantly. He could take a bottom unit special teams and at least make it middle of the pack. So that's number one. They got a new special teams coordinator, and they're much more disciplined on special teams. Let's talk about the kicker and punter duo now of Syracuse. They have a new kicker this year, an Iowa transfer in Trip Woody. I have said this now twice, but you know what? I'm going to say it a third time. Bear with me on this. Sorry that I'm repeating myself. I really apologize. I try not to repeat myself on this podcast, but I got to be honest with you. It is so important and it is so worth mentioning. That 49-yard field goal by Trip Woody was the most underrated play of Syracuse's victory against Clemson. And I challenge you to come up with a more underrated play in the comments section below. Could you imagine if Trip Woody did not make that 49-yard field goal? What could have happened in the game? I don't know if Syracuse wins. It was only a 10-point game at the time. They had just completed a 59-yard play, and you're telling me that they're not going to get points after a 59-yard play to Jonte Cook? But Trip Woody came in and hit a 49-yarder, and he made it with no doubt. He drilled it right down the middle and had plenty of leg on it as well. Through 4 games, Trip Woody is 5 of 6 field goals, and he is 16 of 16 on extra points. So far, so good for Trip Woody. The punter in Jack Stonehouse, we had high expectations for. He's having an even better season than I thought. He is averaging nearly 50 yards a punt. This is someone who, as of right now, I think he is going to be an NFL punter in Jack Stonehouse. So you got a good kicker. You have an all-conference punter. Now, the return game for Syracuse, admittedly, on the stat sheet, it's not the greatest. They're 10th in the ACC in kick return average, and they're 13th in punt return average. But you know what? That's okay. Because let's talk about all the mistakes that Syracuse has made on special teams in 2025. Shall we? Let's talk about the mistakes, okay? How many blocked field goals for them this season? 0. How many blocked punts have they allowed? 0. Onside kick recoveries on defense, I should say. They haven't been tested yet in that category. I thought it might happen against Clemson where it would come down to an onside kick, but thankfully it didn't. How about any roughing the kicker or running into the kicker or roughing the punter and all that stuff, etc.? Bad penalties that give teams automatic first downs. 0. Has not happened yet. The only mistakes on special teams so far, we're only 4 games in, so knock on wood, we hope that it continues with no mistakes, have been minor. Very, very minor. You're talking about delay a game before a punt. Okay, I can live with that. That's fine. Delay a game before a punt, backs you up 5 yards. You know what? If that's the mistake you're going to make on special teams, I'm good. That's totally fine. I am not expecting perfection. And I don't think you're expecting perfection either. So I think we can all live with that if those are the only miscues they make on special teams. Let's talk about some advantages. Have they blocked any field goals? No. Have they blocked any punts? No. But that's okay. They did recover a surprise onside kick against Clemson, which I think we all can agree really set the tone in that game with the surprise onside kick, and they executed it perfectly. Clemson did not see it coming. It was perfectly kicked right down the middle. The Syracuse players knew exactly what to do. They knew that the ball has to travel 10 yards before you're allowed to touch it. And they reviewed it. I'm sure they wanted to give the ball to Clemson. I mean, the ACC just fined Syracuse $25,000 because of fake injuries because the quarterback of Clemson decided to cry because he's a big fat baby. But that's neither here nor there. I'm sure they wanted to give Clemson the ball back. I really am. I'm sure they did. But you couldn't deny it. That ball definitely went 10 yards. Syracuse knew exactly what to do on that onside kick recovery. So they're 1-for-1 on that. So overall with the special teams, have they been perfect this season? No, but that's fine. You don't need to be perfect on special teams. The point of it is, I don't really want to notice the special teams. And through 4 games, it's not like they've been super noticeable. And the only times they have been noticeable have been positive. The surprise onside kick, a 49-yard field goal make by Trip Woody. You are seeing a team now on special teams with a new special teams coordinator in Rickie Brumfield that is much more disciplined. So now, what do they do on special teams? Very simple. Keep it up. That's it. Just keep it up. You don't need to change anything. Keep doing what you're doing on special teams because through 4 games, the special teams, they've only given Syracuse an advantage in games. It has yet to rear its ugly head like it did last year, where it nearly cost Syracuse some games. And so they just have to keep it up. That is the message moving forward for the Syracuse special teams. But shout out to the new special teams coordinator of Syracuse, Rickie Brumfield, because he has done a fantastic job improving this unit. Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think the offense is the most improved, the defense the most improved, or the special teams is the most improved? Curious what you think here on Locked On Syracuse. Now, coming up, the expectations for the Orange. Obviously, it's not Steve Angeli anymore. It's Rickie Collins. But you know what, folks? I'm still keeping the expectations high. And I'll tell you why next on Locked On Syracuse. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. FanDuel makes every game exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. If you bet the Rams to cover the spread, I apologize. That was a wild ending where they honestly should have won that game. They blew the lead. Then they have a game-winning field goal that gets blocked and returned by Jordan Davis. So it turns out that Philly covered the spread. Are you ready to play over on FanDuel? Well, now's your chance. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar, packed on game days, the coffee shop, Salt City over on University Avenue, over on the Syracuse campus. Fantastic spot. Perhaps they know your order by heart, right? Or that corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. And these local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home. And so many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. What's the goal for Syracuse football in 2025? Their current position is very favorable. After an opening week loss in Atlanta, Georgia against Tennessee, they were 0-1, but then they have since rattled off 3 consecutive victories. They got the come-from-behind victory against UConn. Thank goodness they survived it. They beat down Colgate, and then they go into Death Valley against a Clemson Tigers team that's desperate, and they punch that team in the mouth. I don't care what Dabo Swinney says about how they, quote unquote, shut down Syracuse in the second half. No, you didn't, Dabo Swinney. Syracuse just kind of took its foot off the gas in the third and fourth quarter. They had such a big lead. It didn't really matter. And Cade Klubnik, your team did not lose or did not gain rhythm on offense because they were faking injuries. Okay. Cade, I hope you get that $25,000 that they fined Syracuse for, because maybe that'll make you feel better. That's neither here nor there, though. They're 3-1, 1-0 in conference play. What's the goal for Syracuse football now? I think you're going to all call me nuts. I think you will. Even though we're all Syracuse fans and I'm a Syracuse alum, and maybe you're watching, you're a Syracuse alum or a Syracuse student right now. Shout out to all the students out there. I was right there with you a couple of years ago, graduate of 2024. So I'm pretty young. I think the goal for Syracuse football is that the expectations are higher and that they can compete for an ACC title. I'm not saying win the ACC. There are some better teams out there, in my opinion, that are better than Syracuse for sure. Miami and Florida State. But you know what? Why can't this team compete in the ACC? Why can't they have another season like they did last year? I know what you're probably going to say. Jackson, the quarterback. The quarterback. It's not Steve Angeli. You're right. It's not Steve Angeli. You're 100% right. We've already gone over that. It will not be easy to replace Steve Angeli. But you know what? Rickie Collins is a mystery box. Do we truly know what we're getting in Rickie Collins? We don't. And to be fair to the people that are questioning me right now, calling me nuts, calling me crazy, you think that Syracuse can really compete in the ACC right now for a potential title, or at least get to the conference championship game. He's a mystery. Maybe he doesn't perform well on Saturday against Duke. And there, we will recalibrate. We will adjust the expectations accordingly. But my message is this. If we don't know what we're getting from Rickie Collins on Saturday, why would I change the new expectation of Syracuse football in 2025? What if he's really good? He was neck and neck with Steve Angeli in fall camp. So what if he's good? What if Syracuse uses his mobility, they play to his strengths, and this team can still function at a high level on offense, which we know is their bread and butter? And that defensively, they're getting better. And we already talked about their special teams, how they're this year, so far through 4 games, not a complete liability out there. They're actually pretty good with their kicker and their punter and their overall execution. We just went over it, right? So why can't they compete in the ACC? Who is definitively better in the conference than Syracuse football right now? Who's better? I'll give you Miami. I will definitely give you Florida State as well. Georgia Tech is a strong team, but I don't know if they're definitively better than Syracuse. Syracuse is going on the road to play Georgia Tech, and this isn't to give them bulletin board material, but rather I think that game could be very, very close. I think that game could be a coin flip. So if I think a game is going to be coin flip, then why am I going to sit here and say that Georgia Tech is definitively better than Syracuse football? I don't know. They're a good team, though. And with Florida State, well, Syracuse is not playing Florida State this season. I wish they were playing them last year, but they didn't. Thankfully, they're not playing them this year either. No Florida State on the schedule, who might be the first or second best team in the ACC right now. We can go over the schedule. The home games are incredibly winnable. You got Duke on Saturday. Duke, great offensive team. That's going to be a challenge for this Syracuse defense. But can the Syracuse offense keep up with the new quarterback? Maybe, maybe not. That's why I'm saying, for now, I'm keeping the expectations really high. And if Rickie Collins doesn't perform on Saturday, well, then I'll adjust the expectations accordingly to just win 6 games, find a way to make a bowl this season. But you also got Pitt at home. You can beat Pitt at home. You got North Carolina at home. I don't know if you've seen North Carolina this season. They ain't very good. And Boston College at home. Syracuse needs to, get off the schneid against Boston College, losing 2 straight to that school, fellow Northeast rival. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but those home games for Syracuse are incredibly winnable. Can they maybe see what happens at Miami? And I'm sorry, I'm blinking a lot. I think I got an eyelash in my eye. Apologies for that. But can they maybe see what happens against a team like Miami? I don't think they're going to win that game. But you know what? I didn't think Syracuse was going to win in Death Valley, and they did. At SMU SMU does not look like the same team they did a year ago. That's a winnable game for Syracuse. Georgia Tech, winnable game for Syracuse football on the road. And Notre Dame, I know it's on the road, but that's not a conference game, so you can lose it and still compete in the ACC for a possible title game appearance. And B, I don't know if you've seen Notre Dame's defense. It ain't as good as it was last year. That's for sure. So the bottom line is this. If Rickie Collins, and it's a big if, I'll give you that, but if he can perform at a high level, or at least an above average level, this is a team that can definitely compete in the ACC. This is a team that can, at minimum, win 8 games in the regular season. Minimum, if Rickie Collins could play at a high level. And I have no reason right now to adjust the expectations. If he performs, great. If he doesn't perform on Saturday, we'll come on the podcast and say, folks, the goal of 2025 is to find a way to win 3 more games, because you're going to assume they lose to Duke if they don't get good quarterback play. But find a way to win 3 more games and just make a bowl in 2025 and regroup from there. We'll go over what Syracuse should do at the quarterback position moving forward. That's why it's a great bye week topic, because now we get 2 games to watch Rickie Collins heading into the bye. What are your expectations for Syracuse? What are the goals for Syracuse in 2025 now that they're sitting at 3-1? Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. As far as what's coming up on the podcast here in the near future, tomorrow we get set for the Duke Blue Devils. That's right. We'll go over the Duke offense, the Duke defense, and just general thoughts and keys about Syracuse's upcoming game against Duke. They're coming to the Dome Saturday at noon Eastern. It's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse, and I'll see you all again soon.